In today's video, we're going to be discussing the pros and cons of buying a house, and I'm going to walk you through the decision-making process of whether buying a house is right for you or not. So let's jump right into it. Number one pro of buying a house is appreciation. Think about the price of a gallon of gas 10 years ago versus the price of a gallon of gas today. And then think about the price of a gallon of gas 10 years from today. The prices always go up. Whatever it is, whatever you're talking about, the price of it will go up. And the same holds true for your house. And you might be wondering, how much does it go up? Well, the answer is, on average, nationally, 5%. It may hover anywhere from 4 to 5%, but generally speaking, it's around 4 or 5%. And you may compare this to a stock, which historically has performed anywhere from 7 to 9%. Why not just put my money into the stocks? It's going to do better in the long term. So that will bring me into the second pro of buying a home, which is leverage. Okay, let's take, for example, you put $10,000 into the stock market and it's a good year and it goes up 20%. Oh my God, right? So you made $2,000. Congratulations. Now, let's say you're looking at a $300,000 home. You put down 3% because that's all you need. Sometimes you can even buy a house for zero down. But let's say you put down 3% or $9,000 and the home just goes up 5%. It's not one of these crazy years like we see in 2021. It just only goes up 5%. You're not making 5% off the 9,000. You're making 5% off the entire $300,000 value of the home. You made $15,000 in equity based off the 9% investment that you made. So if you think about it, that's over 100% gain. On one hand, you invest $10,000, you make $2,000. On the other hand, you invest $9,000, you make $15,000. And that's because of the power of leverage, the number two pro of buying a home. Okay, the number three benefit of buying a house is the loan paydown. Let's consider the fact that if you're not gonna own a home, you're gonna have to rent. And for example, let's say that your mortgage payment, your monthly payment for owning a home, and your monthly payment for renting a home is exactly the same. Well, if you own a home, at least a portion of your monthly payment will go towards building equity. It won't go away. It'll stay with you. And when you sell it, you get that equity back. But if you're renting, then that money is gone forever. Okay, so the number three benefit is the loan paydown and the building of equity. The number four reason that you might want to consider buying a house is your mortgage doesn't go up. As I was talking about the number one benefit, how the price of everything goes up, so too does your rent. But when you lock in a 30-year mortgage, that mortgage payment will be the same from year 1 to year 30. It's never going to go up. Your taxes might go up and the cost of everything that you need to maintain the house may go up, but that mortgage payment, the principal and interest, that will always stay the same. So those are the four benefits why you may want to consider buying a home, and here are the four reasons why you may want to consider not buying a home. Number one, there is a big upfront investment. Now, there are ways where you can buy a house with zero money down, especially if you're a veteran. The VA loan program is one of the easiest ways to buy a house with zero down. However, in most cases, it's a big upfront investment of several $1,000s, and not everyone has several $1,000s that they have lying around. And if you do, you may want to use it for other things like buying concert tickets or a gym membership or liposuction or vacations, whatever. There's so many other ways you can spend that down payment money. But anyway, that is one of the cons of buying a house, is that upfront investment. Okay, number two, there is a risk. Just like everything in life, there's always some sort of risk. And the same holds true with buying a house. And in particular, there are two things that you want to look out for, and if these two things happen at the same time, then you are in a very bad position financially. So those two things are, if the prices of the homes go down, and that happens from time to time. There's not really any way you can predict it or avoid it. Prices do go down sometimes. Generally, in the long term, they go up, but there are sometimes those dips. And the second thing you got to look out for is you may not be able to afford the monthly expenses. And if these two things happen at the same time, well, then you're going to have to sell the house, and you're going to have to sell it for less than what you owe. So that's going to ruin your credit, and it's going to make it harder for you to buy a home in the future. It's going to be harder for you to buy a car, and it's even going to be hard for you to find a place to rent. So you want to make sure that if you're going to buy a house, that you're able to hold on to it long enough to have that home appreciate in value, so that when, if you can't afford the monthly payments, then when you sell it, at least you can sell it for more than what you owe. The number three con that you may want to consider when purchasing a house are higher expenses than what most people expect. So it's not just your mortgage payment, okay? When you're renting a home, you have the rent payment and that's it, okay? You're not paying for taxes, you're not paying the HOA dues. When the oven breaks down, like, you just call your landlord and say, hey, get me a new oven or whatever. And if you're in like a apartment complex or a condo, the landscaping is paid for. Well, when you own a home, that all falls on you. And a lot of people don't consider this when purchasing a home. They just think, oh, it's just like rent. I just got to be able to cover the mortgage payment and I'll be fine. They don't consider like the other expenses, like what if a water heater breaks? What if, they don't consider the HOA dues or the increased utilities in some cases if they're getting more square footage. A lot of people, when they go from renting to owning, they want to upgrade, so they get a bigger house, or they move from an apartment to a house and the utilities are more, so they don't consider these factors, and that's something you really want to do. If you want a good rule of thumb, then I would say $150 is a good amount to calculate into expenses in addition to your mortgage for repairs and maintenance, okay? And number four, and this is one of the worst things about owning a home, is the lack of freedom, right? When you own a home, it's typically you're committing to stay there for at least 3 to 5 years in order for it to make sense financially, for the home to appreciate enough in value so that when you sell it, you can make somewhat of a financial gain from it. And to me, it's tough because freedom is one of the most important things to me. I want to have that freedom to move to another city if I want to, or even move to another country if I want to. And owning a home, it can kind of hinder that. It locks you into a certain location for a long period of time. And that might be one of the reasons why you don't want to buy a house. So, should you buy, right? There's two things you have to ask yourself. Can I commit to living in this place for 3 to 5 years? And ideally 7 to 10 years if you want to really profit from it. Or I should say, and can I incur those expenses for that period of time? Because if I can't incur the expenses, if my job is, not stable and I get laid off or whatever, then I'm going to have to sell it because I can't make those monthly expenses. So it's very important. Can I commit to staying there long term? And will I be able to afford the monthly expenses for that period of time? Okay. Now, there is one way around it, which I'm going to let you in on right now. So if you value freedom like I do, and this is what I did when I bought a home, is you want to have a big enough down payment that your mortgage payment is less than the monthly rent. So if you're thinking of buying a home, you don't want to be locked in, then you want to be able to rent it out when you move out instead of selling it right away. Okay, so look up the rental rate in your area for that type of house that you're thinking of buying. and then calculate how much of a down payment do I need in order for my mortgage, my monthly expenses to be less than the rental rate. And so in this situation, instead of having to sell the house when you want to move, you can just move and rent it out to someone else without selling it in the short term. Because if you sell it in the short term, you're probably going to lose money with realtor fees and all the other moving expenses. So that's never a good idea to sell it in the first year or two after buying a house. It's probably almost always a bad idea. So hope that helps. If you're thinking of buying a home, I hope it helped you in your decision-making process, and give it a like if it did, and share this with a friend. Thanks for watching.